Now, over the years, I've made tons of videos talking about my journey dividend growth investing over the last 7 or 8 years, and I love to talk about different stocks and ETFs across the markets, sharing some of my favorite insights on popular compounding machines like SCHD, DGRO, different stocks or ETFs that could potentially make investors very rich long term if they stay the course. And although I make tons of different videos sharing how easy it really is to just invest a small amount of money over a long time period into high quality dividend growth ETFs, for example, and share with you guys exactly how that can turn a relatively small amount of money into a massive snowball over time. The reality is that getting rich and or completely living off of dividends is honestly much harder than people talk about or you might think. Now in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly why it's honestly pretty tough to get to a point to where you can live off of dividends and sort of give you and share with you the other side of the argument from the more rosy picture side of dividend investing that I normally talk about. So if you want to see the real data, the real detail of how hard it actually is to live off of dividends, and this is even for younger investors, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. Real quick, for those that haven't already, make sure to go to the first link in my description and grab my new dividend investing ebook, where I share exactly how I went from $0 invested to now earning over $6,000 on a monthly basis and over $1 million invested in the market. Along with the ebook, you're also going to receive my custom dividend tracker, where you can track your dividend progress on an ongoing basis and reach your dividend investing goals. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So first off, let's talk about some of the basics. How much money do people have in general? How much money do people have to invest into things like dividend growth ETFs, like the ones that I talk about all the time on my channel? Now, I get that a lot of you guys that are watching this video, because of the fact that you're interested in dividend investing, you probably are in a different bucket of society. You probably have your stuff together and you probably are financially above the average person, at least intellectually. But just to paint a picture for everyone, some of the key takeaways as of right now, it says more than 1 in 4 Americans, 28% of Americans, have a savings below $1,000. This is the case for 32% of Gen Zers, followed by millennials at 31%, Gen X at 27%, and baby boomers at 20%. So basically, right off the bat, we see that 1 in 4 Americans doesn't even have $1,000, which means they much less have enough money to invest into high quality dividend growth ETFs that can compound a portfolio long into the future. It then says standard saving accounts are most popular savings vehicles across 4 generations surveyed, while high interest options like high yield saving accounts and CDs are less common. So right there also sort of paints more of a picture that most people have the intellect and or the amount of money that probably makes sense to just put in a savings account, which means that most people out there are not only not utilizing things like high yield savings accounts and CDs, which are great options, but much less finding different high quality dividend growth ETFs or stocks for that matter and invest into them. It then says in 2024, the highest percentage of Gen Zers, 22%, are focused on saving for a car. Millennials, 25%, and Gen Xers are focused on beefing up emergency funds. And baby boomers, 30%, are primarily focused on retirement savings. Now this to me overall, generally speaking, seems to be that every single group more or less is way behind. Almost half of Americans, 49%, expect to save the same amount of money or less in 2024 compared to 2023, while 46% anticipate saving more and 5% are unsure. Rising living costs are the primary barrier to saving more, followed by debt repayment. So basically, because things are getting more expensive and because people are repaying debt, that is another reason why people are having a hard time saving, much less finding extra money to add to their portfolio. Now next, that brings me right into this, a dividend calculator with a $10,000 starting principal, a $12,000 annual contribution on top of that per year. Invest into something like ticker symbol DGRO, a high quality dividend growth ETF, for example, that has a history of raising their dividend and has a history of moving up in price. This right here is sort of a perfect foundational starting position, in my opinion at least, for a relatively younger dividend growth investor. But the reality is that most investors out there don't even have $10,000 of starting principal to build an initial portfolio like this. And even if they had $10,000, a lot of investors, especially younger investors, definitely do not have an extra $1,000 per month to add to their portfolio on top of that. Now again, I know that a lot of you guys watching this video, you guys are not like the average person. I would like to think that a lot of you guys do actually have some savings to put into a portfolio, and you guys do have extra money to add into your portfolio every single year, which is wonderful because, for example, a $10,000 portfolio and $12,000 per year long term into something like DGRO could potentially compound a portfolio to $1.7 million, paying you $134,000 per year in dividends after 30 years invested. And again, relatively speaking, $10,000, $12,000 per year is not necessarily asking all that much from investors, if you ask me at least. But the reality is that most investors out there don't even have $1,000. 1 in 4 Americans do not have $1,000 in savings. So the majority of investors out there are not going to have $12,000 to contribute to their portfolio every single year. Now, even though that might be the case, even though that might be the truth statistically, I still think that investors out there, even with a $1,200 annual contribution and a $10,000 portfolio to start, even investors out there that have that much money to start with can still compound their portfolio to a large amount of money later on if they allow their portfolio to keep reinvesting and stay the course. We're talking around $275,000 up to 30 years invested, and that's once again from a $10,000 principal and $1,200 per year. I mean, after all, even if you started with a portfolio of $1,000 and added $1,200 per year, you still could potentially compound that $1,000 portfolio to around $170,000 of principal and around $13,000, $14,000 in annual dividend income per year. So even though the reality is that most people, as of right now, as I film this video at least, and I hope this gets better over time, most people out there have $1,000 in savings. You can see especially younger people, 32% of Gen Z have under $1,000 in savings, which is absolutely horrible. Even the investors out there that have a relatively small amount of income to work with and have a small amount of savings to work with, even those investors should by any means necessary try to find a way to add a small amount of money into a long-term dividend growth portfolio that's going to compound over time and potentially even change your overall situation later on in the future. And I think that the fact that a lot of younger people either don't know about investing, haven't came across videos like mine, or maybe just can't figure out a way to save a little bit of money to stuff away in a portfolio, I think that's going to be doing a great disservice for them long term. But I think it's also important to note that even though investing a small amount of money, as I've shown you guys so many times on my channel, even though that small amount of money can turn into a massive lump sum of cash later on down the line because of the power of compounding, I think it's important for us all to know exactly how bad the situation is out there for most people. And whether that makes you sad, whether that makes you motivated because you're doing much better than these people, whatever the case might be, is perfectly fine. I'm not going to judge you, but the reality is that this needs to change, and investors out there need to find a way to stuff at least a small portion of cash into a high quality dividend growth portfolio ASAP, at least if you ask me. Now, still by no means do I think it's a bad idea to invest, and I don't want this video to come across that way, but I just want to give us all some more perspective and really understand exactly what situation most Americans especially are in. And for these reasons and more, I still think that long-term investing is one of the most effective ways to build compound interest and build a long-term portfolio that is going to be a substantial help when it comes time to retire. And this is, of course, when you start investing your money, reinvest it along the way, and keep adding more and more onto your pile, things are going to get better later on. And this is even with small amounts consistently invested over time, this can still lead to significant wealth accumulation. So while it seems harder than ever, especially these days, to find extra money to invest in the markets, in reality, even small consistent investments over time can have incredible impact on your financial future. Long-term investing is still one of the most accessible and proven methods to achieve financial freedom, and I think we all know that by now. But most important of all, it just starts with starting. So now that we went through and I shared with you exactly why I think it's actually much harder than most people think to build and live off of a long-term dividend growth portfolio, I lastly want to hear from you guys down below. As of right now, on average, on a monthly basis, how much worth of stocks or ETFs are you currently buying and adding to your portfolio? Let us know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.